All right, we are now prepared to move on to the final step in our tutorial. We are at step number 5. This is for GDQ ICT Honors for the assignment due on April 15, 2014. We've gone through steps 1 through 4, and now we're on to step number 5. All that remains to do is to allow the user to choose NIV or Albanian from a pull-down menu in our form. If they choose NIV, then use NIV.John1334 instead of ALB.John1334. It would be good then if we were to add another version of the Bible that your program could easily be expanded by simply adding an element to an array. So what is it that we need to do? First, we need to go to our form here, and we need to make it a little bit smarter. We need to allow for the possibility of doing inputs of a select. Now, I'll be honest, I can never remember how these select comes up. Something like this. Value equals alb, and it's Albanian, and then value equals NIV. Notice that I'm choosing my values carefully to make life easy for me. If I could choose a value such as, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 in place of Albanian and 4, 5, 6 in place of NIV, or 1 for Albanian and 2 for NIV. But then I'd have to go through yet another translation. I'm trying to make life easy for myself. Let's see if this works for me. Again, I'm not really sure. Let's go ahead and make it nice here. We'll go ahead and put a table. Yeah, I'll do the other stuff later. And then and we'll put the submit down below. I don't know how that'll look, but this is just an idea to get us there. Now we have to come back over here. Instead of process up here, we have to go to form and see what we've got. All right, please choose a file to upload. Choose file, no file chosen. Version Albanian. That's pretty ugly. Let's see if we can't clean it up a little bit just to be nice. So we'll choose a file to be uploaded here. Easier. Yeah, that's a little bit prettier. I think that's acceptable. That's kind of ugly. Probably I should put the version off to the right. You want me to do that? What is the word version? Technically, you're supposed to do this with a style anymore, but I'm old-fashioned, so I do that. Doesn't look right without a colon. All right, that's as close as we're going to get right now. If we now choose NIV and we choose our file as our data file that we've got here and open it and submit it, this is the first time that we've done this coming from the form for quite a while. So hopefully in about, that was much quicker than it has been. Must be caching things. It comes up and you can see that things seem to work very nicely for the Albanians. However, we have not yet got it working for NIV. So let's go back to our process over here, and we've got to figure out where it is that we do our URL. Here's what we want to do. So we want to say if request, remember request is the array that allows us to get the values that have been passed to us by either the method of get or the method of post. It doesn't matter to us which way it's coming. In this case, it's post, but we're just going to use request so that it'll pick up anything. And if the version equals alb, then get the URL from here. Else, get the thing from here. And let's see how that works. So we are going to go back to the form. We're going to choose, okay, so we're going to send it with NIV, choose file, scrape. Let's see what comes up. Now, all of our caching is probably not going to be quite as nice because it has forgotten what it was working on, but it takes a little bit longer, and now all of a sudden we have English in there. You'll see up there mark 950, salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness. Now, that wasn't very pretty the way I did this. Do you see how I have to have the entire thing replaced here? What would happen if I just did this? Do you see what I've just done? I've introduced a new variable, and because I'm within quotes, I don't use a quote at the beginning and the end of version because we're already within quotes. That's already a hard value, a hard-coded value. So now, when I do this, I believe that it will come back and do the same thing again, but let's see. Thinking, thinking, thinking. Things look good to me. Now, what's awkward about this? This is not actually said in the assignment, but we can probably pretty well assume that if we are printing English over here, we probably want English over here as well. How can we solve that problem? Let's go to where we do our translation. We use our XLate up here in the book name. How do we set our book name? Here. So we can say if request version equals alb, then do the translation, else book name equals $M2. Let's see how that works. Waiting, thinking. It didn't get quite as fast as it was with the other caching that we had going there. But now, as you can see, we have references going down here in English and references over here in, or the verse text over here in English. Let's make sure that this will work if we choose the same file but use Albanian instead. This should change both our reference and our text. Let's see what happens here. First off, we wait for a long time. Well, we wait for it to go through, and then it comes up, and you can see that we have successfully changed our reference over here, and over here we have changed our verse text as well. Things are looking pretty good for the good guys. Now, I noticed before when we were in our English that some of these references are not going, are not being printed in the way that it's very nice for us to have. So let's pull this up again. And again, this is just kind of pretty. Right now the assignment is done, but we are looking to just make things a little bit nicer. And notice, oh, it didn't happen this time. No, it didn't happen. Let me get just a little bit smaller of a window, and you'll see what effect I was looking at. Do you see how 1 Corinthians 11:33, how it breaks right here and puts it on another line? That's kind of ugly. It would be much nicer if the reference stayed on a single line, and if the wrapping needed to happen, that it would happen over here in the text. So let's do what we need to do in order to make sure that these references over here always stay in one line. We don't want the reference to ever be wrapped onto a second line. So let's go back over here right before we print the book name, and well, we'll just do it up here right after we make the book name. So now we've got the book name in here. Now we are going to replace every string in here, every space in here, with this ampersand NBSP semicolon. That's a non-breaking space. So it's a space. It will look like a space, but it will not break. It will not wrap onto the next line. So let's see what happens now. We save that off. We refresh this, accept our value that we had before, wait for localhost dun, ding, dun, 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 dun. And we're going to be looking specifically at the 1 Corinthians values here and the 1 Thessalonians values here, because these are the ones that were troublemakers. And all of a sudden, we have these all on a single line, and if anything needs to happen, for instance right here with Colossians 3:16, where it needs to go on to a second line, it does it over here in the text rather than doing it over here in the reference. The only other thing that I would do, I find it just a little bit nicer. If you were Timmy, you would probably come up and make this really beautifully formatted table. I'm too lazy for that. In actual fact, if I was doing this for something that mattered, I would do exactly that. But I'm just going to put in a few borders here by saying border equals 1, and we'll see what comes up. And now you can see it's a much nicer, much easier to read as you go down through there. Now, at this point, I do not have any debug statements because, as you can see, it's nicely formatted all the way down. So I don't have to get rid of any debug statements. But I have been working in kind of a test bed over here. And you'll recall that I changed this URL from www.qdk.org. I changed it to localhost to make things work for me more quickly while I was testing. Before I would be done with this assignment, I would have to go back and change this back, install it out on the internet to a place where it would download more quickly, and then and only then would I be complete with what I'm doing. That completes the assignment that we had that was due April 15. I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you in understanding how I go through the process of writing my code.